This is If My People Bible reading, part 176. We are in the book of Mark, which is John Mark. And we just finished 175, ended with verse 50 about salt. If you're the salt of the earth, Yeshua says, if you're going to be salt of the earth, you got to be clean. And once you mix it, you're going to have a problem. So are all of us mixed in these days? Are we pure salt? And the answer is no. So Yeshua hasn't told us yet, but this is just the first gospel. But what he's saying is, when I come, I'm going to purify your hearts. Nothing on earth will purify your heart except me. All the Torah in the world will not save you. But that doesn't mean you ignore Torah. That's his word. And the new Torah we're reading, every single one, is challenging but easy to understand. This is maybe the first time I've said this since we got in the new covenant. This Torah is extremely easy to identify. It's in the new covenant and it is newer and is better according to Romans and the book of Hebrews when we get there. It's there. It's there. And now Yeshua is saying in chapter 10, well, who does it go to? Who does it go to? Does it go to the priest? Does it go to the pastors and they get it and the rest of you sit there like idiots? And my friends in the Irish Catholic is different from Roman Catholic. Roman Catholic is different from Greek Orthodox Catholic. It's different from Sephardic Catholic. Sephardic Catholic is a mixture where the great majority of people's bloodline is Jewish, and they became Catholic because they didn't want to leave their home in Spain. And many of the Jews in the time of Islam became and paid and said that they were a Muslim, and they would hear and obey Islam because they didn't want to pay taxes on their land. The people in that Jerusalem area in Israel, living during the time of the caliphs when they first started, were charging all the Jewish people the taxes, and so they didn't have to pay no taxes at all. There's some fairness, isn't it? There's some socialism that doesn't quite work. And as a result of that, they simply gave up and said, "Oh yeah, I'm of Islam. I believe in Allah, Allah." And today we even have, come Allah, come Allah. Sounds like Kamala, doesn't it? Come Allah, come Allah. Ooh, that's kind of creepy, isn't it? Better leave that where it is. You might start thinking about what I just said. Okay. We are in chapter 10, verse 6 and 7. But at the beginning of creation, Yahweh made them male and female. The reason they're talking about that, because the question came about marriage. And Yeshua doesn't want that ever to happen, ever. But yeah, Moses wrote it in the law because there's stubborn, stiff-necked individuals. And they at the Mount of Yozabal is the Mount of the Law in Saudi Arabia. In Saudi Arabia, not the bottom of Sinai. The Sinai in the areas was also considered in Saudi Arabia. Okay, do your history and do your science check. You'll find out what I'm talking about is true. So when they were there, they did some abominations, and they defiled themselves through adulterating their souls and minds and hearts with that of a Baal calf that they were going to worship. So yeah, Yahweh divorced them. They were divorced. And now they can be remarried again if they are pure, because they have to go through the blood of Yeshua, the once and for all atonement of Yeshua, to get to the Father, so that they can become a bride of the groom, who is Yeshua. Plain and simple. There it is. But he's saying, yeah, this is allowed to happen because when they become together, they become echad in one mind. And I've said this in several of the other readings before, and that's because it's very important. The DNA between a man and a woman, the DNA is consummated through bodily fluids, kissing, and going through the process of bringing children into the world. Your DNA enters her DNA enters you, And you may have 1,000 friends and 1,000 other family members. It's got nothing to do with it. Your two DNA is shared. And it's one thing that Yeshua talks about here is he's trying to tell you. Now, there's some good science. Don't mix DNA with a bunch of other people's. As I said before, if you just take one person who does something wrong in their life and does mix his DNA with someone else, and they mix with somebody else who mixed with somebody else who mixed with somebody else who mixed with somebody else, and then finally a woman comes along who may be virgin, but by the time they get together, there's like 200 people inside of them. There's 200 DNAs that can come from one of the partners in the marriage. And it gets worse when it's the other way around. They're both promiscuous. Yep. And the two become one flesh, so they are no longer two but one. Now that's a Torah command. Therefore, what Yahweh has joined together, let not man separate. Then some children were coming up to him. This is an interesting part here in verse 13 of chapter 10. People were bringing little children to Yeshua to have him touch them, but the disciples rebuked them. And when Yeshua saw this, he was indignant, and he said to them, he was indignant, let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of Yahweh belongs to such as these. Yeah, just like the kids making fun of, is it Isaiah? Or Elijah? I'm trying to remember where the kids were all making fun of him. They were not children. They were up to like 25, 35 years old. And he had a bear attack him and tear him up. Remember that? Yeah. What we're talking about here is don't the preachers and the teachers out there of their churches are holding all the information within them. And many times I've asked him, why don't you tell the parishioners, why don't you tell the people in your congregation the truth, everything you know about this word? And they have said over and over again in these alliances that I've gone to, these ministerial alliances, because the people out there are just plain stupid, and we don't want to tell them that. The Irish Catholics, they're not even allowed to carry or read the Bible because they're considered too stupid, and their priest won't allow them to do it, or they're no longer a member of the Catholic Irish Church. Oh, Bruce, you're making stuff up. Really? Really? Don't think so. In fact, I know so. Oh, go sell everything you have, verse 21. Give to the poor. Doesn't mean you go out there and throw everything away. What he's saying is if you don't need something, give it to somebody else. If you can help someone, help them out. If you can lift them up off a ditch in the road, a good Samaritan, lift them off the ditch in the road. That's one thing he went after the Sadducees and the Pharisees about, especially the Pharisees, is they say all this stuff and they stand so firm for what they stand for, but yet they won't even help a person who's fallen into a ditch because they will become unclean. Wow. Chapter 11. Have faith in Yahweh, Yeshua answered. I tell you the truth. If anyone says to this mountain, go throw yourself into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, who but believes what he says will happen, it will be done for him. Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. Don't sit there and say the same prayers over and over again. Talk to the Father in earnest. Let him know what you need. And if it's his will, it will be done. Now, if you sit there and drive him crazy with the same thing, repeating prayers, saying the same songs over and over again and over and over again, that's what all the other religions do. They sit there and they repeat things and they do this all day long, and they get baptized constantly. They get sprinkled constantly. They go confess constantly to somebody. They go through these rituals, praying over and over again the same thing. The answer is no. That is not of the Father or from the Father. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's. That's chapter 12, verse 17. As you've read through this Bible, you understand as we are going through Mark, and you finish this, if the government wants to tax you to death, Yahweh's going to take care of it. Yahweh puts leaders into positions. We don't go out and execute people because they're not my president. You don't go out there and hurt people or presidents. Yahweh takes care of that. He'll take care of them. All right? He knows what he's doing. He's smarter than we are. And so if they want to tax you to death, all this will work out. You represent what you can and what you're supposed to be doing in life, and that's what you do. But you don't become a god amongst your own. So if you owe taxes, you pay your taxes, and you don't cheat, lie, and steal. Of all the commandments, they just love that. Which is the greatest commandment? Hear, O Israel, Yahweh with our Elohim is our Yahweh Echad. Love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. This is the first commandment, Deuteronomy 6:4, I believe. And this is in verses 28, 29, 30, 31. The second is love your neighbors yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. So he was asked for one and he gave him two. That's a nice guy, isn't it? That's a wonderful. Yeshua says in chapter 13, watch out, no one deceives you. There's a lot of deception in this world. When you hear wars and rumors of wars, these wars and rumors of wars have been going on for thousands of years. But let's jack it up a little bit. Let's jack it up. Be on your guard. You will be handed over to local councils and flogged in the synagogues, flogged in the churches too. Let's wait and see what happens. On account of me, you will stand before governors as kings and witnesses to them. On account of me, not something because you don't like somebody encroaching on your property and you're going to sue them and all this other stuff, and God is on your side. He's talking about you representing him and his word on this earth. That's what it's accounted for. Whenever you're arrested, verse 11, and brought to trial, don't worry about beforehand about what to say. Just say whatever is given you at the time, for it is not you speaking, but the Ruach HaKodesh. It goes on. Here's some bad news, because people just, the name it and claim it people don't ever mention this in their congregations. Verse 12 of chapter 13. Brother will betray brother to death, and a father his child. Children will rebel against their parents and have them put to death. Now, name to me right now how many have done that. It's happened in the past. Oh yeah, it's happened. When this country was founded, a great majority of the people in the United States did not join the Revolutionary War effort with George Washington. Did not. They had to go and get people of other countries to help them, including France. Yeah, the great majority of the people in the United States were a bunch of mamby-pamby do-nothings. And the others were pro-royal family, pro-George. Things don't come easy, no matter what they are in this world. You have to fight for what you got. You fight the rightful fight. Let no one, this is verse 15. Oh, let's go to 13, because I need to round this out. Excuse me. All men will hate you because of me, but he who stands firm to the end will be saved. What's he talking about? Well, that means no matter what, in the last days, I'm bulletproof. No, it's not true. He's talking about your soul. He will not lose a single sheep's soul. Not one. And that includes shepherds that may be killed in the line of duty. Verse 15, let no one on the roof of his house go down and enter the house to take anything out. Now, this is in the days when something's happening. So Yeshua's coming back. We're all going to go to Jerusalem and start, we're going to start sacrificing again. No. First of all, that's not what's going to happen. If that happens, that is the Antichrist. And he's warned you. There's one of the great warnings right there. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, the whole thing. There's the warnings. The books of John 1, 2, and 3, Revelation. It's all there. When that happens, run. Okay. So, boy, there's a bunch more Torah before we even get to chapter 14, but we're gonna stop there at verse 16, and we'll get back to you then. Okay. Take care.